live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Friday, November 3rd. We have a lot to get to in just a short amount of time. Kouri Richins in court today. Amanda Gilbert joins us with an in-depth look at what was discussed in just a few minutes. Also, a blight and abandoned building for many years, beginning a demolition process in Salt Lake City, what that means for the development of the future. Before we dive in, we're following breaking news here on 2 News Live. A lot happening in Tooele. This video here just into our newsroom showing the Tooele Motor Company and what took place here. Look at this train of gravel that you could see coming across here before a semi-truck with 2 trailers crashes into the side of this building, catches fire. This is just remarkable video that we've had in our newsroom for a few hours now, showing the initial aftermath of what took place here. As far as we know it, 11 injured, one of them in critical condition. Brian Malahy been out there for hours in Tooele. Brian, thank you for your great coverage on 2 News at 4, 2 News at 5, also your Facebook Live, keeping people updated. What do we know right now in terms of how this all transpired?
Police believe that it was a malfunction on a semi-truck, that the brakes failed, and the truck was heading northbound on Main Street in Tooele and hit some cars, continued down the street, hit more cars, continued down the street, hit more cars, total of 27 vehicles in all. I am going to spin around here and show you a shot now of the front of the building. The front of the building in at the Tooele Motor Company, which is badly damaged. This is where the fire erupted. We talked to one person who was just 10 feet inside the structure. He says it was chaos, panic to get out. And it is something where firefighters are still on scene. They've put water on this now. The accident scenes on Main Street have largely cleared up. I'm going to walk out over here for just a moment. This is where the worst crash was, and all of the vehicles have been now towed away. But it was a scene that people described to me today as being crazy, chaotic. People were going to try to help individuals in cars. They didn't know how badly they were hurt, some of them with just minor cuts, others with major head trauma. CJ, let's talk to you for just a second. This is a one moment here, I'm sorry. This is CJ Goldsberry. You were here, you witnessed this today.
Yep.
What did you do right after the crash and fire?
So I was coming out of the Chevy building. I was with a customer. We're about to go on a test drive, and as soon as it happened, we watched him careen from 1000 North heading down and took off right into our lot and into the Ford building. The second I saw that happening, we booked it on down, started getting people out of the building, seeing if everyone was okay, detailers, sales reps, everything, all the like, and it was just pandemonium. Yeah, it was absolutely nuts.
Did you see the injured? Were you able to see any of the injured?
We did. We saw some people. The community was quick to react and started hammering some windshields to get people out. The yellow truck that flipped over, there was a poor guy stuck in there, and we had to do everything we could to get him out.
Some people were unconscious, too.
Yeah, yep, they sure were. So,
had you ever seen anything like it?
I've never seen anything like this in my life. So this was...
Well, we are glad that you did what you could today under the circumstance. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Again, we're going to take a look at the front of the building here, and this is just remarkable. Brian, you mentioned the path that the truck took before it got to the front of the building. That's it right there. The truck was carrying gravel, so there's gravel then on the pavement, and you also see what looks like might be fuel. Kind of smells like fuel out here, even still. Main Street still closed. It may be for a while. Firefighters still on scene. They may be here for a while. This just was crazy. That was the description that was used today. Back to you.
Brian Malahy live in Tooele. Brian, thank you. I know you have a lot to get to. We'll see Brian again coming up on 2 News at 6 o'clock. Shout out to all the great people in Tooele who jumped into action today to try to save one another given the situation. I'm sure there are many people out there that appreciate what you've done. So many people, of course, use the Chime In feature for weather shots. It's also great for breaking news scenarios. If you come across something unique, perhaps a crime scene, we do want to see it. Obviously, it's what we do. You are always our eyes and ears on the ground as members of our community, so we appreciate you. Send them in through our Chime In feature. You can do that by scanning the QR code on your screen right now to download the 2 News mobile app. You can also get to Chime In at KUTV.com. Let's continue to go in depth on another big talker today. This afternoon, following new developments of one of Utah's high-profile court cases, the Utah child book author accused of killing her husband by giving him a lethal dose of fentanyl. She appeared in court again today. Kouri Richins' defense and the state addressed motions that they filed. Amanda Gilbert spending the afternoon in court for us in Summit County. Amanda, I know it was a long hearing, a lot of things discussed, a lot of things not moving forward, a lot of things will move forward. What was ultimately decided in court today?
Yeah, pretty lengthy day in court. The hearing started at 1:30. It wrapped up just before 5. We're going to try to give you a look inside the courtroom because of significance. It was actually pretty packed in there today, and that's a little bit different of a scene from some of the scheduling hearings we've been to throughout the summer. Kouri had family there. Eric Richins, the husband she's accused of killing, also had family there. Now, 2 big things discussed today. One, state prosecutors asked that Kouri no longer have contact with her mom or brother. They claim a letter found in her jail cell shows she had tried to persuade them to give false testimonies. The judge denied that request today. Something else that was denied, Kouri's defense attorney asked for charges to be dropped. She says the state violated Kouri's right to a fair trial in their handling of those letters in the jail cell that I just mentioned. Again, that was denied as well, which means the case will move forward. Something that did just happen minutes ago, I did speak with Kouri Richins' brother Ronnie for the first time. He had a lot to say. He said he speaks with Kouri pretty much every day. So coming up tonight at 10, I'm going to break down that interview, share what he has to say. This is the first time we are really hearing from Kouri's family. Back to you, Brian.
All right, I can't let you off that easy. You can tease 10 o'clock all you want, but you got to give me a nugget. What is something that stood out to you from that conversation? This has been a long time in the making to hear from somebody in this family. Can you share at least a tidbit?
Ronnie simply said he believes his sister is innocent, and he talked a little bit about that, so you're going to hear from him. You'll hear his words coming up tonight at 10.
Amanda Gilbert in Summit County. Amanda, thank you. Looking forward to that report tonight on 2 News at 10 o'clock. Appreciate it. Of course, we've been covering the Richins cases since the beginning. You can catch all of our prior coverage on our website, KUTV.com. Let's talk about the weekend forecast because today was brilliant, I think, for most.
Yeah,
I speak on behalf of the Wasatch Front normally because I'm not everywhere, but we like knowing that most of the state appeared to have just a great day.
Yeah, almost picture perfect. We had a little bit of some haze this morning, and we were hoping we'd get a couple showers to kind of clear that stuff out. But we didn't really get it.
Well, I noticed that on the way in. You look across towards the benches, right? And you could see it kind of just, it's most pronounced pushed up against the mountainsides there and the foothills. That's when you really know, hey, we're in it today.
Yeah, especially in the early morning hours, late evening when that sun angle is low, you can really start to see what kind of pollution's in our atmosphere. So really quickly, I do want to talk about one of my pet peeves.
Am I going this way or going this way here?
We're just going to stand right here in the middle. I made it go right in front of us.
Okay.
So we're going to pull it up. So inversion season typically lasts here in Utah between November and February. Now you can give or take probably a couple weeks depending on the conditions of our atmosphere. But generally what happens is during the nighttime, we get all this cold air funneling down into the valleys, and at the nighttime, you get to emit some of that radiation, so you get a lot of cool air down at the lower valleys, and then that sun angle, it really doesn't reach the lower valleys, so we don't get a whole lot of daytime heating except for today. That was one of the benefits that we had today. We got some really warm temperatures, close to 70 degrees in some spots. And then, but what that sun angle does is it warms the upper levels of the atmosphere, so it creates this situation where we're trapped. That cold air is beneath the warm air, and so what it does is it creates this very thin, invisible layer in our atmosphere. Now, people talk about seeing the inversion. What you're seeing is, it's not the inversion. The inversion is an invisible layer. What you're seeing is the pollution that's trapped underneath that invisible layer.
Very good.
Yep. So just a little bit of.
So you're not seeing physically when you look down. Say you're driving down Little Cottonwood Canyon, you see that nice layer that looks like Salt Lake City's under the clouds sometimes.
Yep.
That is strictly the pollution.
That is strictly the pollution as a result of the inversion. So,
all right,
yep.
that should clear things up for you. No more mistakes.
No more mistakes.
Says
I
Trent
better
Parker.
not hear it.
Hey, let's take a look at your weekend forecast here. What we got coming up?
Get right to it. So, this is what we're looking at today. I put these numbers together just because we haven't had an update on the Great Salt Lake or Lake Powell in quite some time. And actually, we're doing pretty well, especially compared to last year where we were at a historic low, especially for the Great Salt Lake. So we're up still over 3.5 feet at the Great Salt Lake since last November, up 42 feet at Lake Powell since last November. And if you add it all together, it's something like more than 9 million acre feet that has been added to these two bodies of water combined over the last year. So that's just incredible. It's really good news. And our drought conditions have improved definitely since last year, where we were seeing severe drought across much of the state. It was something like 94 and 95%. Today, no severe drought, just a couple of dry spots down in southern Utah and of course out in eastern Utah, where we really haven't had that much precipitation this summer nor this fall. Now we are tracking a weather system that I would like to say would bring us some rain, but unfortunately I don't think it's gonna. It's an atmospheric river, one of these features of our atmosphere that varies in time and place throughout the season and the strength of it. And right now we've got one pointed straight at the Pacific Northwest. So a really soggy weekend for them. Meanwhile, we're under that ridge of high pressure. So these storms are just going to steer up and north over our area, and we're just going to see a couple high clouds out of it. So future track will show that. A couple clouds moving through tomorrow, so you will notice some mostly cloudy skies, especially if you're headed out to the Utes game, but we might see maybe a sprinkle move through Saturday night, and then Sunday morning, everything's just staying north of us. So the Utah-Idaho border is where all the action's going to be, unless you're headed farther north up into western Wyoming. As you can see, Monday morning, the Wind River Range up in Wyoming, Tetons getting slammed with some snow, but here in Utah, we're staying completely dry. Just a couple of those showers there towards Bear Lake, and that's pretty much it. And then we have a storm maybe coming this week that'll drop our temperatures, but I'm not trusting it because all these storms are just missing us to the north. So game day forecast will be in the 50s for the tailgate, 60s by the rest of the game. Just a couple of clouds. Arizona State's in town, and that kickoff's at noon. Our precipitation chances staying very marginal, 5 to 10% each and every day through Monday. And then potentially Tuesday is when we could see a little bit more rainfall here in northern Utah. Now, southern Utah is staying completely dry, just sunshine through the next 7 days, couple clouds moving through, and maybe some wind getting kicked up on Tuesday as that storm rolls through. But in the meantime, these mid to upper 70s, very unusual for this time of year. As you can see, the normal high is right around 70 degrees for this first week of November. Salt Lake City, we're getting really close to 70 tomorrow. In fact, the record high today was 71, and we got up to something like 66 or 67. So really close to breaking some records up here in northern Utah. And then we start to cool off by the time we get to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Highs struggling to get out of the 40s, which I know some people might not like it, but we are heading into ski season. We need some snowmaking weather, so the mountains will definitely be deserving that one.
Two people here that don't have a problem with that.
No.
It's all good. Hey, southern Utah, the place to be this weekend if you want clear skies.
Yeah, absolutely. You might as well take the boat out, go fishing. It's second summer.
Boom. You heard it here. Thank you, Trent. Remember to download our 2 News Weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood. You can get updated forecasts at Live Radar right on your phone. The app is free to download. I do still think when you see the clouds there up against the mountains there, Trent, it still signifies inversion to me. At least that's how I see it. He gives me a scowl. All right. A building in Salt Lake City being torn down after it sat vacant for decades. Disclaimer, it's right across the street from our building, just around the corner. It's known as the Yardstick. It's on 3rd South between Main and State, just covered in graffiti. A good portion of the building has actually fallen down or it's been burned out due to fires started inside. Yesterday, demolition began on this building.
The reason it's sat there empty is that the owners have owned it for a long time, and they have sentimental value with it, and they want to keep it forever. So they want to just do a land lease, and the market's tightened up, and we're playing with a couple of potential users, developers, and it just takes some time to, get the deals put together. Unfortunately, we couldn't keep the homeless out, so they decided a couple times decided to burn the place down, and so we finally just got direction to demolish it and clean up Third South.
Have you been hearing from people about the positivity that this demo could bring to the area?
There's been a lot of positivity, yeah. I mean, not only, like you said, from the neighboring property owners and tenants, but, just anybody that's excited to, see a building like that in downtown to be cleaned up and kind of, help the vision of Salt Lake. And there's a lot of positivity. Yeah.
What fits in a space like that in terms of your expertise in the realm that you guys work in?
Well, what the city is requiring with the zoning, obviously it has to have main level retail, with the D1 zoning. So there will definitely be a component of retail. From our experience and expertise, we feel, some sort of entertainment type concept would be great for the location, given the apartments in the area and the office buildings. So that's, kind of a focus of ours. There's also been some interest in potential, additional multifamily. So we kind of envision some sort of mixed use, I think would be a great fit for that location and what the city envisions with the zoning there.
This building was inhabitable, and so the best thing for it was to be torn down. There are other buildings in downtown that need remodeling, but they haven't been in the condition this building has been.
What was that like over the last couple of years as that building kind of just sat there? Were you getting hits on it?
We were getting calls all the time on it. Most of the calls wanted to purchase. And of course, we are limited to a land lease.
I think, as a whole, we're just excited to finally get a little bit of activity going there. I think it's, there's kind of been a stigma, in the market that nothing's ever going to happen with that building. And so we think it's a big step going forward that, people can actually see, some activity that we are, in the position to get a replacement project there, and just, continue to grow Salt Lake City and keep it a beautiful place.
This building was part of a bigger story we shared in July about city-owned and privately owned properties that are blight and hazardous. Salt Lake's a pretty eye-catching city. Every so often you get a little, the opposite. So that piece, if you'd like to check it out, KUTV.com. Unless you like graffiti, I mean, this was a property that was known, Trent, to get tagged quite often. Mm-hmm. Like we even talked to somebody who, when we put out that initial piece in July, he said, I've been tagging this building for years. I thought it was really interesting. I mean, it's a thing, yeah. But in terms of moving to other cities and stuff, you don't really see a lot of that here from what you see in other large cities. So
right, you mean the tagging?
Tagging or just, buildings that are falling down. I say that, but I'm looking out at Main Street. Come on, got a couple that need some work here. I actually walked by them to put in some video to that piece today. There's a few right on the other side of our building here. Yeah, but absolutely. Should be a really nice weekend here. If you want to get outside and just kind of get after it, a little cloud cover, Wasatch Front maybe.
Fire up the grills.
Yeah.
Get it going.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe go for a hike.
All right.
Cleaner air up in the upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, don't forget to turn those clocks back. Check your smoke alarms. Carbon monoxide.
Yes, that's big because you don't want the beeping in the middle of the night. That's
not
what
the main concern.
That's been my well, the beeping. Well, it is if you have a 2-year-old, right? Like, smoke alarms in her room. Beep, beep. Yes, I know what you mean. There are other concerns. All right, thanks for watching 2 News Live, a Friday edition. We appreciate you. Thanks to Brian Malahy, Amanda Gilbert, Trent Parker for being here today. Have a great rest of your Friday here. Have a safe weekend. We are back Monday for another edition of 2 News Live. Good night.